Aggro, let's take a look at this particular list here as he's 9-2-1. We've got Courser, Death Mist Raptor, Warder, the first tree, Fleece Mane Lion, one copy of Hidden Dragon Slayer. So this morph game he can play is a little bit different because he has Death Mist Raptor, Hidden Dragon Slayer, and Den Protector. Boon Satyr, a single copy of Wingmate Rock. The spells, 4 Tremoka's Command, obviously, 2 Mastery of the Unseen, and 2 Valorous Stance. Don't see green-white very often.
Nope. This is, I guess, just a kind of a 2-color build of the Bant deck. Essentially, it's just good stuff. There's a little morph sub-theme with Master of the Unseen, Death Mist Raptor, and a couple other morphs, and just a solid curve of creatures.
Typically, when we see green-white, we see green-white Devotion. We do not see green-white Aggro, but that's not the case here as we are underway here in Game 1 of Round 13. Temple of Mystery here from Brian Dolan.
I would be apprehensive about this matchup if I was Justin. Part of the problem with Temur is you can often just kind of pick apart its threats with spot removal. If you're not bringing a lot of removal to the table and you're trying to just brawl, Temur does it better than most other decks.
Nobody outbrawls the Ferocious deck.
Right.
That's for sure. Here's a Fleece Mane Lion.
There's only 2 Valorous Stances in Justin's main deck, and those are going to be really taxed trying to fight Thunderbreak Regent, Savage Knuckleblade, and all the rest.
Speaking of Thunderbreak Regent, that was the draw this turn for Dolan. He's going to sacrifice a Wooded Foothills, go down to 19. Forester Mountain coming. Looks like the mana is mostly on line here for Brian. And perhaps we'll see a Savage Knuckleblade. We'll see. 3 drops that are available here for Brian. Courser of Crewfix as well. He even has some removal. He's got Crater's Claws, Wild Slash, and Lightning Strike, all 3 of. You saw Wild Slash last turn. Take care of that Warden of the first tree.
But this would just be a very solid matchup for Brian's creatures here because they're just going to get to fight, and that's what they excel at.
Yeah. Knuckleblade versus Fleece Mane Lion. We know who wins that fight.
Don't want to be playing against a lot of Heroes Downfalls, Knobs on Charms, and stuff like that, but if it's just about, is your stuff bigger than mine, Temur is going to win that matchup more often than not.
See what Schibanoff can put together here for his 3rd turn of the game. He's going to come into the red zone, it seems. And Dolan's going to take that. There's Tremoka's Command. +1/+1, of course, to the Lion, and then they'll fight. But these are the kind of exchanges that Brian Dolan is happy to see.
Yep.
Especially when Justin doesn't have a 3rd land.
And that play looks a little rough for Justin, but if he doesn't have land number 3, that just might be what he has to do.
Yeah. Here's Thunderbreak Regent.
Brian predictably showing up with another big creature.
That's what this deck does. There's Fleece Mane Lion. Schibanoff has to take a damage to cast it.
And I believe Brian would Stubborn Denial in hand, and it seems very unlikely Justin can catch up with creatures. It'll require a spell, and Stubborn Denial checks that very easily.
And there's no Thunderbreak Regent. So this game, I don't think, is going to be a very long one. Wild Slash and Stubborn Denial in hand for Brian Dolan. Schibanoff stuck on 2 lands. Did draw a copy of Windswept Heath, so he can play that. But this is not a deck that has a lot of removal, and even if he did have removal here, he has to take 6 to kill Thunderbreak Regent. There's Warden of the first tree. Pass the turn back, will Schibanoff. Dolan going to quickly untap and take a draw step here. Forest is the draw. Here's an attack for 8 in the air. Schibanoff going to go down to 4.
I think I would have sent an attack with the Fleece Mane Lion last turn.
Give it to him.
Just
let him know.
Can't take it with you.
That's true. Can't take this game with him either. Can't Schibanoff. Brian Dolan going to win game number 1 here over Justin Schibanoff. Temur Aggro very quickly up a game here over green-white Aggro. Dolan has had a really, really nice tournament. We watched him play. We saw him beat kind of the Esper Dragons deck a little bit earlier and flying under the radar a little bit. But Temur Aggro is this weird deck where it is oftentimes mocked and criticized, but we oftentimes see one within the top 16 of the Open Series.
It's funny because a lot of these green-white style decks, the Bant decks we've seen on camera, their plan for beating control decks is to have things like Den Protector, Master of the Unseen, have these longer game plans that allow them to play this sort of attrition battle. And that comes at the consequence of their speed and their ability to interact early. And that's very good for Temur. The more that the creature decks move towards these sort of attrition-based matchups, try to find cards to fight control decks and to fight other mid-range decks, those kind of cards typically are not good against Temur, because Temur is just about presenting the biggest clock as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And if you're messing around with things like Master of the Unseen and Den Protector, those cards are not going to be effective very often against a deck like Temur.
Sometimes you just get punched in the mouth. That's what Temur does.
Right. It is not quite as extreme as Mono Red in this respect, but it is a bit of a gut check, litmus test type of deck in the format. If people are gearing their decks too much to fight control decks, then Temur is going to be very good.
Schibanoff's sideboard, he has 2 Plummets, 2 Collected Company, another copy of Hidden Dragon Slayer to go along with the one in his main deck, a Nissa Worldwaker, 3 Arishan Cleric, 1 Master of the Unseen, 2 Cetessan Tactics, and 2 copies of Hornet Nest.
Well, I think the 2 copies of Plummet can pretty easily come in. There's quite a bit of flying going on in Brian's deck. After that, I don't think Cetessan Taxis is great because Brian's creatures are going to be bigger. Hornet Nest is okay, but Brian can also do a lot of his work on the air as well. So I think we're definitely going to see the Plummets come in. Hornet Nest may or may not.
What do we see on the other side?
4 copies of Disdainful Stroke, 3 Ash Cloud Phoenix, 2 copies of Roast, 2 copies of Seismic Rupture, an Anger of the Gods, an Encase in Ice, a Feed the Clan, and a Plummet. I think this is pretty straightforward stuff. The Encase the Ice, the Anger of the Gods, the 2 copies of Roast, and perhaps the Feed the Clan as well. Just more creature removal, things that can swing the damage race.
These players will shuffle up here for game number 2. We will talk about the Star City Games buy list, the changes that have been made, something I know you're very familiar with.
Yep, you can head over there right now. If you're familiar with the old buy list, you were basically control F'ing through an exhaustive list trying to find the cards you're trying to sell. Now with the new buy list, you can just punch in each card. You can set foil, non-foil, whatever language, condition, and just get a quote on the card you're trying to sell. This also expedites the process, whether or not you're selling to the website or going up to the dealer booth. You can just have your list printed out, hand that and the card to the dealer instead of sitting there and have them count out everything. You have to be registered for the website to view the buy list, but you can head over to starcitygames.com/buy list to check it out if you are, and it's very easy to register for the website if you are not already.
StarCityGames.com/buy list for more information as game number 2 here between Brian Dolan and Justin Schibanoff will be underway here in just a moment. Schibanoff again on green-white aggro, 9-2-1. Brian Dolan, 10-2. Very healthy record here for Brian. If he's able to win this match, it'll push him on to 11-2 with 2 rounds left to go. Pretty close to topping.
Yep. 1-1 definitely gets it done.
That is for sure. I can't put this commander deck down.
Oh yeah, you are having a blast with
I
this.
have a problem.
Is this a turn 2 Sarkhan that your hand just drew up here?
Well, that assumes that I'm playing with my hand and not paying attention to what's in front of me. Yeah, it is.
Turn 2 Sarkhan's a
It
good
is turn
start.
2 Sarkhan, yeah. For those of you just joining the broadcast, a nice gentleman just gave me a Goblin Commander deck.
Nice is an understatement.
I agree. So I can't put this thing down. I have a Skirk Drill Sergeant in hand. Do you know the text on that?
It's 2-1 for red and colorless from Legions, I think, but I don't know past that.
Correct. You've gotten it all correct so far. When Skirk Drill Sergeant or another goblin is put into a graveyard from play, you may pay 2 colorless in the red. If you do, reveal the top card of your library. If it's goblin, put it in play. Otherwise, put it in your graveyard. Powerful.
Smooth.
Powerful.
Smooth design.
Big fan. Why do I think you're being sarcastic about your design comment?
Because I am.
Oh, figured it out.
A goblin and delve facilitator. Best of both worlds.
Combo deck.
Yep.
My favorite kind of deck. We are underway here in game number 2. It is a forest here for Schibanoff. A frontier bivouac here for Dolan. There's a fleece main line for Justin. Another bivouac here for Brian. Pass that turn back. Schibanoff to a much better start this game. That's for sure.
His first thing didn't get killed. Brian's a little slow out of the gates.
Blossoming Sands is land number 3. Fleece main line number 2 is the play. And Dolan is going to sacrifice his wooded foothills.
I believe Brian has Savage Knuckleblade this turn, and this is perhaps going to be the whole game here. Does Justin have a way to push through it? Something like Valorous Stance. Brian might fall way too far behind, but if the Knuckleblade's good and it acts as moat, then Brian gets an opportunity to start casting his other stuff.
There's Knuckleblade. That's going to try to play the brick wall. Knuckleblade is really good against the green-white aggro deck, that's for sure.
Yep, it's just big.
There's Courser of Crewfix. Take a look at that top card. It is a forest. There'll be a trigger and a little bit of life gain here. And just a passing of the turn, so Schibanoff cannot get by the 4-4. Stubborn Denial is the draw. There is Yop My Coast. Here, ugh, boy. It's another Savage Knuckleblade.
This is not necessarily bad for Justin because he can just send in 1 Fleecebane Lion next turn with a threat of going monstrous. And then he can actually go monstrous if he wants to.
Yep.
Rinse and repeat. But Brian can start cracking back with those copies of Savage Knuckleblade.
This is a forest. Trigger up to 23. And there's a Fleecemane Lion trigger. So now it's monstrous. There's a 4/4. Hexproof, indestructible, and just passing the turn. You like passing there or attacking?
16 to 23 with a Courser in play. I am likely to attack in that spot.
Okay.
Depends on the specifics of Justin's hand.
Okay.
But just viewing what's happening on the board, I would have sent in the 4/4.
What if Foothill's going to get sacrificed?
I don't really want to play defense if I'm Justin, unless his hand's spectacular. Because Brian's going to be able to start going to the air soon. He's just got more power in his deck. I'm kind of looking to shorten the game. It's especially attractive because you get to run the same thing the next turn with your other Fleecemane Lion. You can really start pressuring him at that point.
There's Thunderbreak Regent. Take a look at the top card here. Elvish Mystic, the draw. There's Manic Influence. Schibanoff will gain a life, of course. So Test and Tactics, the top card here for Schibanoff. And that's something that Brian needs to be pretty wary of.
Definitely. This is shaping up to be a game where Success and Tactics can be really solid. I was suspicious of Justin bringing it in because his creatures are just pound for pound smaller. But this setup with a bunch of Fleecemane Lions next turn could be really good.
He's going to serve in with one now. No good blocks, obviously. So 4 damage will be dealt. We'll go back Dolan's way. Dolan will draw. Yavimaya Coast. Now the one thing that Brian, of course, does have is he does have a copy of Stubborn Denial in hand for the tactics. So it's not the end of the world. Another Thunderbreak Regent. And he's going to attack with the first one we think, and he will. Going to put Schibanoff down to 20.
And you can see this is sort of the reason I would have been happy to turn the game into a damage race earlier, a couple turns ago with the Fleecemane Lion. You can see that Brian started revving up the engine a little bit here. If Justin may believe that the Success and Tactics is good enough to lock up the game, but that's discounting the possibility of Stubborn Denial, and I think we're about to see it.
Here's Dramoka's Command.
So Dramoka's Command is a great test spell here because it might force the issue on Stubborn Denial anyway.
Yeah.
And Brian kind of can't counter this because he needs to save it for Stubborn Denial.
Such a powerful card.
Yeah. Brian just has to let this go.
Yeah.
Because he knows about Success and Tactics, so.
Ugh. Another Dramoka's Command. Yep, got to cast this one. So there's a Stubborn Denial finally. But now Success and Tactics is wide open.
At least it forces Justin to tap his creatures, which prevents an attack, but this is bad news.
I think Justin, I was going to say, Justin can get pretty aggressive here now, too. He's at 21. He's at a healthy life total. No real risk of dying on the crackback. Knuckleblade probably going to have to do some blocking here. Yep. 4 damage will come across. Knuckleblade's going to bite the dust. The follow-up is an Elvish Mystic. This is passing the turn here for Schibanoff. Disdainful Stroke the draw.
Interested to see that one come in. Justin's deck, it's possible Brian doesn't know exactly what Justin's deck is up to, but this is not a great matchup for Disdainful Stroke.
Absolutely not. See how aggressive Brian wants to get with these Thunderbreak regions. He'll just attack with one, put Schibanoff down to 17. Crater's Claws on top of the deck, of course.
The minute that Brian, in this kind of spot, can no longer attack with all of his flyers is the moment where the game is lost. Because he's just kind of stuck in chump block mode at this point, and he's going to fall well short of cobbling together a lethal. I'm not saying he might be better on board if he attacks with both. It's just, that's the indicator that I don't think he can come back.
It's time to attack. Fleece Main Lions are coming in, so is Courser, and so is Elvis Mystic. And with Schibanoff having a copy of Boon Satyr in hand, and the ability to just pump with Sedescent Tactics, just as a +1/+1 effect.
Doesn't have to fight with it.
Yeah, doesn't have to always fight with that card. I don't think we're going to play past this turn. There are your blocks. Here comes your Boon Satyr. A little surprising to see it there, as opposed to on non-blocked Fleece Main Lions.
Yeah, Brian has a way to play back. It's not like Justin can put together lethal this turn.
Yeah. So 5 damage is going to come across. Thunderbreak Region is going to get killed. This is just destruction here of Dolan's board. Knowing your opponent's going to draw a Crater's Claw is clearly not going to be good enough.
Yeah, this is 3 lethal attackers against a removal spell and 1 blocker.
Yeah. I think Dolan is coming to the same result here as he does a little bit of math. Going to play Crater's Claws, maybe not, just concede the game instead. Justin Schibanoff going to win game number 2 here over Brian Dolan. Green-white aggro and teamer aggro gearing up for a 3rd game here. It looks like Brian's going to be back to the sideboard really quick. Maybe he didn't like that disdainful stroke.
He brought it, there's 4 in his sideboard. So
Okay.
if you brought him in, I'm assuming he brought in all 4. And there's very little in the way of targets in Justin's deck. I mean, there's a Wingmate Rock. That actually might be it. With 2 copies of Whisperwood Elemental.
That's basically it, yeah. And so he grabbed his sideboard really quick, so you have to imagine that's what's being shifted in and out here really quickly, because disdainful stroke is very poor in this matchup. Also, he didn't see very much game 1. Game 1 was a very short game.
It could have been, for all Brian knows, he could have actually been looking at an Obzon aggro draw there game 1. It's possible that's really what he thought he was playing against. He saw Fleece Main Lions, a Mana Confluence, and maybe he wanted the disdainful strokes for Siege Rhinos he was anticipating and so forth. So with more information now, those cards have got to come out.
We're talking spring sale now. It is springtime, which means it's time for spring sale. Weather's nice.
It is.
Sales on cards nice, too.
Been really nice in Providence this weekend.
It really has been.
There's new items that get added every day, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. The spring sale is individual cards, sleeves, sealed product. Anything that is available on the website will go up there periodically. So it's worth checking back every day because random stuff's up there all the time. There was a land sale recently where I actually got a little bit busy myself. So just go back to the website every day, Monday through Friday, check it out, because some items that you are interested in purchasing will likely go up during the spring sale.
Got to bookmark that.
You do.
Updates every day through the rest of the month. StarCityGames.com, spring sale for more information as we get ready for game number 3 here between Dolan and Schibanoff, teamer aggro and green-white aggro. See what's going to happen here between these 2 players. You need to get a commander deck, dude.
Well, I don't think it's particularly fair for you to tell me that I need to get a commander deck when the impetus for this is the fact that someone gave you a free commander deck.
I disagree. I think you need to get a commander deck.
It's not like you brought up this request before. You just want me to do it now because...
Well, I kind of want to play.
Okay.
That's all. We'll get you a nice, what would your commander be?
Zozu the Punisher?
Isn't there, was there a legend on your top 8 cards list? No?
No.
We can make Timberwolves your commander if you want.
Not allowed.
Bans. We can make our own rules.
Do you want to make a... I don't think there's a banding general you can play. I don't know if there's a
Ooh,
legend.
that's a good question. A legend that bans?
Oh, there's got to be one in Legends.
Right?
I'll look at the roster. I'm sure there's some knucklehead
Twitter
there.
probably knows. A legendary, so you can just confuse...
Creature in Legends, a legendary creature in Legends that references banding.
A creature, so it's just something you can confuse me with, since
Yeah.
I don't know how banding works?
I'm sure Caracas is all over the place. This deck's probably not good.
Can you imagine trying to explain banding on coverage if it came up?
Oh, I've thought about actually trying to build a deck with a banding element to it. Like, you could play a couple copies of Benelish Heroes in your Death and Taxes sideboard. It's probably actually fine in a couple matchups.
Okay.
And it's just hilarious to violin.
I also just want to get Rampage on the camera once, because I don't think many people remember that ability is even a thing.
Yeah. Well, you know, if there's something that you need to double block to punish in Magic, it's double blocking because it happens so often.
on one of my favorite creatures of all time, the Craw Giant. It had
Yeah.
Rampage 2, I think.
Arathi Berserker. That's another one. He had a lot of Rampage.
Here's the Fleecemane line. The best part is some of the younger people who are watching the broadcast don't know what Rampage is.
Yeah, it's
They've never seen it before.
really potent against double blocking. And it's even better against triple blocking.
Here is Roast to take care of Fleecemane Lion.
Brian here kept a very land-heavy hand and is not cooperative thus far. I think he's just on Courser Krufix, Roast, and lands in hand.
Windswept Heath. Schibanoff will sacrifice that. Go down to 19, Forest, or a Plains coming.
Someone on Twitter just directed me to Aisha Tanaka, which I had forgotten about.
I don't know what that is. Okay.
Boom!
All right. So that's I don't even know what the artifact effect. What does that even mean?
Which requires an activation cost.
Is countered unless its controller spends white.
Really good against equipment, potentially,
This ability is played as an interrupt.
because that was the speed for countering things back in the day. You know that. You played with interrupts, I'm pretty sure.
Not really.
They were
actually.
faster than instants.
That makes what you just said makes no sense.
Well, that's why they changed that rule.
Death Mist Raptor coming in the red zone here for Schibanoff. Dolan's going to go down to 17. Does have another copy of Roast in his hand, but it doesn't look like he has much interest in roasting that Raptor.
Well, the thing is, this game is shaping up to go on for a very long time, and I don't think Brian wants the game to get to a place where he's killing Death Mist Raptor, the game goes on for another 5 turns, and something happens where they all come back. If the game was being played on a tighter timeline, I think that Brian would be happy to use a removal spell on the Raptor, but the way the game's going, I think it's best for him to just sort of hold tight and wait.
Courser of Krufix. Little land action. Passing of the turn. Back to Dolan. Ooh, boy. Drew a copy of Feed the Clans. This man needs some of his big creatures, and he needs them now. We're going to see the top card with Courser of Krufix because we have to. There we go. Thunderbreak region on top of the deck.
And I don't think Brian wants to shuffle that one away. And if he doesn't shuffle that away, that means he's not roasting the Courser this turn.
Yep.
So he sort of has to just live with this. It's, again, not ideal, but I don't think he can afford to shuffle away a Thunderbreak region when his hand is this jammed up.
Dromoka's Command is the draw here for Schibanoff. Windswept Teeth will come in from the Courser. You get a trigger for life gain. Some healthy attacks here. There's a block. I think we have ourselves a Boon Satyr, folks. Schibanoff going to sacrifice that Windswept Teeth very quickly.
This is so bad for Brian.
Yeah.
If it's Boon Satyr.
Yeah.
Then it's outside of roast range. Thunderbreak region can't do anything to this board.
Your opponent has Dromoka's Command in hand. There's not a lot you can do about it. There is Boon Satyr.
Brian can't even pair the Courser with the Lightning Strike in his hand. I mean, this is horrible.
Yeah,
this is horrible news for Brian.
Really bad news.
He's actually kind of getting out-teamered right now.
Yeah, oddly enough, he is.
Justin's got the biggest thing in play, and Brian does not appear to have much recourse.
Going to sacrifice a Wooded Foothills. Rarely does Teamer get out-teamered, as you put it. But that is certainly what's happening. It's just a big creature standoff. Going to sacrifice this Wooded Foothills as well. Probably search up a forest, but it could be a mountain. I'll go with the forest. Or is it Saga style?
Mm-hmm. Some teamer-worthy threats in that set.
Yeah?
Argothian Worm. That card's actually horrendous.
That's the old 4-mana 6/6?
Child of Gaia.
I don't remember that one. I have the picture of Child Guy in my head. Argothian Worm I knew very well because I wanted as many copies as possible.
Scoria Worm.
That one involved flipping a coin?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Some real hitful hits.
I think it's a 5-mana creature that unsummons itself if you lose a coin flip. Which is not the most reliable thing for triggering Ferocious, but...
Very nice. Saga had some real doozies.
Oh, yeah.
Growthian Worm is one of those cards you can really learn from, too.
Because it looks so good.
Oh,
It's actually horrible gameplay for both players.
it's not great. I wanted as many as I could get, though.
Yeah, me too. Until I cast it once when I was behind.
Well, you have to learn a lesson. Oh, boy, another Boon Satyr here on the Deathmist Raptor. This is a real beating. There's Lightning Strike on the Deathmist Raptor. Boon Satyr, of course, comes in because of Bestow. Schibanoff is very far ahead this game, though. Dolan down to 6. Temple of Mystery, the draw. Take a look at that top card. That one's going to go to the bottom here for Dolan. Looks like it's probably time to cast that Roast. Yep. I'll take care of Boon Satyr. Here's an attack because there is no good block. Feed the Clans at the ready.
I mean, he can gain 10 here. The problem, I believe, is that Justin has Valorous Dance in hand. Brian's only hope is to use Feed the Clans to race, and Justin has the opportunity to just take the Thunderbreak region out of the game.
He also has Dramoka's command in hand, too.
Yeah, so Brian has a game plan he's trying to execute, at least, but I just don't think it's going to work.
He also has to make a move now because this is a lethal attack, so here is Feed the Clans. The Gerard Fabiano special. And a resolve. A bunch of life will be gained. But it doesn't change that things are in a really bad spot here for Brian Dolan.
I'm surprised that Justin went ahead and allowed that to resolve rather than just taking care of the Thunderbreak region there.
I'm also a little surprised, however, the Morph is a hidden Dragon Slayer, so I understand. I want to have your debut here for Hidden Dragon Slayer. Morph number 1. Going to be un-megamorphed here, I think, in a second.
Because if the Courser dies, it's possible the game goes on for a while.
Yes.
And you'd rather him not gain the 5 extra life.
That is a Wild Slash. There will be a response. Hiya. Hidden Dragon Slayer.
Pretty good turn.
Yeah, get your Deathmist Raptor back. Not bad at all. Yeah, that's going to do it. Justin Schibanoff's going to win this match here over Brian Dolan. 2-1. Green-White Aggro will take care of Teamer Aggro. For Schibanoff, moves on to 10-2-1. He's going to have to run off a couple more wins to make top 8. For Dolan, this loss moves him down to 10-3. He'll have to win the next 2 matches to make top 8 himself.
And Brian there just with a hand that really didn't go anywhere in game number 3. A lot of lands and removal spells, not a lot of proactive action. And Justin's hand was very well suited to play that kind of game with creatures that lined up awkwardly for the removal spells that Brian had, and a critical Boon Satyr there that puts the Corsair Crewfix outside of roast range, and Brian could never get out from under it.
I have a love for Boon Satyr. Big fan of that card.
My takeaway actually from the match that we saw yesterday involving the blue-green morph deck against Andrew Boswell is Den Protector and Boon Satyr is a real thing.
Yeah, it's a really nice combo that goes together.
It's a card you can play early to trade, the Boon Satyr, so it's going to be in your graveyard. It's a high and back card to get back, and if you put it on the Den Protector, then the can't block it clause as the first line attacks.
Very real.
It's great. So that's 2 cards you're playing anyway that synergize very nicely with each other.
Everything comes back to Den Protector, I think.